When you found me, I was just a piece of clay. I was formless. You gave me a new name. With the breath of life, I now live abundantly. All I needed was the potter's hand and the blood on Calvary. But too much power can sometimes turn to shame. Too much desire sometimes make you feel the same. But forgiveness is how you win the game. I beg for truth, now I know the truth. And that is when you came and said I was beautiful, loved and blessed. I'm better than the day before, 'cause you made me confess that I am beautiful, loved and blessed. When you're free, you're really free indeed. All you gotta do is just plant the seed. Oh, a constant battle to stay ahead of the game. Is anybody famous when everybody wants fame? Always trying to break you down, thinking that it'll raise them up. I just wanna be happy. Come take this bitter cup from me. If I were to ever write down my life story, I could truly say, through all the pain and glory, I was just a piece of clay in need of the potter's hand. That's when you whispered in my ear the words that some don't understand. Oh, beautiful, loved and blessed. I'm better than the day before. You made me confess that I am beautiful, loved and blessed. When you're free, you're really free indeed. All you gotta do is just plant the seed. Oh, oh. Da, 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 dum. Ba, 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 ba.
Beautiful, loved, blessed. Hi everyone, I'm SHAUN Robinson, president and founder of the SHAUN Foundation for Girls. Welcome to our Black Girls Speak Town Hall. I want to thank my friend Ashley Tamar for that amazing song that she recorded with our friend Prince. The song is appropriate because this is a celebration of our Black girls. They are beautiful, they are loved, and yes, they are blessed. However, they also deal with an incredible amount of challenges, many that come in the form of implicit bias against them from all communities. And that bias affects their self-esteem and chances for success. A recent study by the Georgetown Law Center on Poverty and Inequality looked at how adults view Black girls in our society, and the findings were very troubling. So we're going to talk about that today. We've got some incredible girls who are going to speak openly and honestly about what it's like walking in a Black girl's skin and what we can all do to change negative perceptions. It's going to be a powerful discussion. We also have some more amazing performances that you won't want to miss. It's going to be a great day. So let's get started, shall we? I am so excited because moderating this discussion is an extraordinary woman. She's an actress, producer, girls empowerment activist, and my friend, Monique Coleman.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today for Black Girls Speak Town Hall. I am Monique Coleman, and I am so excited to guide this conversation. I say guide because I really feel like you guys are the ones that I want to be front and center. This is really about capturing your thoughts, your ideas, your voices, and really giving an insight into what your experience is like as Black girls. There's so many conversations swirling around about Black Lives Matter. But one thing that I think is really important is to address the implicit bias that leads to the racism. And that's not on one side, that is actually everyone. You know, it's Georgetown did an incredible study about the ways that we perceive Black girls. And so today we're gonna peel back those layers, we're gonna get really personal, and we're gonna talk about that. But before we do that, I want everyone to get a chance to know who you all are. So if you can just go around, and if each of you can introduce yourselves, say where you are from, and tell us one way that you would describe yourself.
Hi, I'm Marley. I'm 15 years old from West Orange, New Jersey, and I am compassionate.
Hi, I'm Makaya. I'm 17 years old from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm an advocate.
I'm Maya. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I am persevering.
My name is Chloe. I'm 13 years old. I'm in Orange County, California, and I'm bold.
Hi, my name is Amir. I'm 16 years old. I'm in Los Angeles, California, and I'm driven.
Hi, I'm Dawn Shay. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I am creative.
Hi, I'm Sydney. I'm 19 years old. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm resilient.
So I am an environmental activist. I am an author. I'm CEO of my own sustainable fashion company called Maya's Ideas. And I'm also an animator and a filmmaker. I've been doing this work for 12 years. It's going to be coming up 13 years now. And I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. So I'm very passionate about all of the things that I do. And I think one word that I would really use to describe myself is persevering. I'm really about continuing to keep up the hope and keep up the optimism to make an impact in the world, that we can make the world a better place, that we can make our society a better place. And I think that, not that this is really a word, but I'm really a solutions-based activist, and I really want to share and encourage other people and share with people what they can actually do to make a difference in the world, along with educating them.
I actually know Maya pretty well. Maya is actually one of the first people I ever got the chance to work with or meet on Black Girls Rock in 2016. So we've known each other for about 4 years. But I focus on work in diversity and representation. So I collect books where Black girls are the main characters. I do it mainly because it's an experience that I share of not feeling like I was represented, but then understanding the pain that so many other girls go through, and especially seeing people in the industry that are here, knowing that seeing yourself on camera is a really powerful thing, or reading about yourself in a book is really powerful.
I love that. So compassionate, that's what you would say.
And basically, for the last year, I've been trying to figure out what I want to do because I'm a senior now and I'm going to start college next year. So I decided to focus on the film industry, and I'm writing a screenplay right now because I want to see more representation of Black girls in film, and I don't want there to just be like a certain type of Black girl that fits to like represent all Black girls, because we're all different shades. We can all be different ethnicities, but like we're Black, and I want to see more of us on screen. So I've been writing screenplays, and right now I'm writing a novel with my dad, hopefully that I can get it published and everything, because that's what I want to do when I get older. And it's really nice to be here with all of you beautiful Black women, because I haven't been around, you know, people my age for a long time. So it's really nice to meet all of you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I have my own nonprofit organization called Chloe Cares, where I make tote-like bags and I fill them with bare necessity items and I pass them out to homeless women, as well as I teach kids leadership workshops and business skills, and I take trips to Ghana where I install water pumps and bathroom facilities there. I think my one word to describe me would be bold, I guess, because a lot of the work that I do is pretty bold work. Yeah, and I'm also an author. I have 2 books published. One is an audiobook, and it's called Marisol's Helping Hand. And then I have a new book that's just published, and it's called The Girl Who Created Change. So, yeah.
Yay, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Chloe.
Congrats.
I'm an actress, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur. I own a company called Team Dawn Shay Productions. We are built on bringing underrepresented stories to life and giving girls and boys representation who normally don't really see themselves reflected in media. We are up and coming, so we're working on some projects that are starting to lift off. Yeah, you guys probably know me from Power or Orange is the New Black or the Bobby Brown story. I just want to say hi to Chloe because I met her like 3 years ago, and she is so sweet, and I love absolutely everything she does. And hi to Marley, because we were supposed to do an event last year together, but it didn't work out. But we follow each other, and I love everything that you're doing, and I'm just so happy to be here today. And again, as far as like charity work that I do a concert during the holidays with my production company, and basically your ticket to get in is we accept donations and we give them to local shelters in New York City.
Okay, so I'm a musician and I also do a lot of spiritual and healing work. I own my own company. I'm the CEO of my own company. It's called Sage Alex LLC, and it's basically an entertainment company that represents like up and coming artists, a lot of underground artists, and it's definitely in the working stage right now. So it's very new, but it's been like the last 5 years of just getting that together. I also have 2 albums out. One of them is called Funk, and the other one is called Music Therapy. And a lot of stuff I do is really just to speak to Black women and speak to young people, and just help them feel motivated and inspired, because I dealt with a lot of uh, pain in my life. So that's just really what I do with my music. I think a word I would use to describe myself would be creative, or probably resilient. I think that's the word, resilient. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I'm an incoming freshman at the University of Michigan. I am very interested about youth advocacy and inner city representation in Detroit, because a lot of youth don't have the resources that they need to be successful, and they don't really know about the resources that are available to them. So a lot of things that I do are community service based, making sure that they get those resources. I currently work for Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. I'm very interested in policy and making sure that young people know how to vote, making sure that young people know what it means, what politics means, and what it means to vote, and what it means to, you know, get out there and actually be vocal about the stuff that's very important in their communities. A word that I would say describes me is probably advocate, because I do a lot of advocacy for people who don't necessarily feel like they can be vocal about their experiences. And I think that's very important among our youth, especially Black girls. So that's why I'm very, very, very excited to be surrounded by you all today.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. My goodness, what an incredible group of women, young women that have assembled today. I will also share. Um, I would say that the word that I would use to describe myself would be, it's different than I thought. I'm going to say visionary today. I was gonna say compassionate or empathetic also, because that's what I live with. But I've been finding that in this season, this quarantine season, it's been a really important time to kind of reflect. I don't know if you guys have been in that same sort of mindset where the ways that I've identified even myself have changed since we started in this pandemic to now. And so I'm trying to allow myself to embody more of the powerful attributes instead of always the ones that are more as deeply emotional, because I lean to that. So I'm going to say a visionary. So today on this conversation, we have compassion, we have drive, we are bold, we're persevering, we're outgoing, we're creative, we are resilient, we are advocates. That is who I am on the call with right now. These are the faces that I'm looking at, that I'm getting a chance to experience. Do you feel when you walk out in the world that that's what people see? And what words would you say that society uses to describe Black girls? What are words that you've been called? What are words that you've heard? Some examples could be aggressive. Has anyone ever, maybe raise your hand if you've ever been called aggressive? Kind of like taking up too much space, yeah. Difficult. Anybody difficult in here? Okay, loud. Too much. Okay. Have you ever been treated more harshly, do you feel, because you're a Black girl, that the same punishment that you receive a harsher punishment than your white or other counterparts? Okay, interesting.
The Georgetown Law Center on Poverty and Inequality found that adults view Black girls as young as 5 years old as needing less nurturing and less protection than their white peers. Adults view Black girls as more adult-like and less innocent than their white peers.
Negative stereotypes of Black women as angry, aggressive, and hypersexualized are projected onto Black girls.
I think there are a lot of spectrums in the ways in which all of us are treated in schools or just within life, or the way in which we think our ideas or image is projected into the world. For me, I think I spend less time than many other girls being over sexualized or being told that I'm like the angry Black woman or the angry Black girl. I mainly am put a lot of responsibility to take care of other people. And I find that that would happen a lot in school, having higher responsibility, higher demand, and less recognition of my own personal circumstances. So I was talking to my mom about, because I was trying to figure out what story am I going to tell, like, am I allowed to say people's names, which I'm not going to do. But basically in 8th grade, we had to do this project, and it was a time project within our class. And one of the girls in my class, she was white. She would often have things where she was very emotional and would get super anxious very fast. I am an anxious person as well, but I have been taught and kind of socialized by my parents that, like, you're allowed to express your emotions in school, but it's a lot easier to express them to a parent or an adult that would know you better. So you don't, like, you kind of keep things hidden until you feel like it's a safe space, which is what I do. And I think a lot of us kind of do that to avoid being judged for how we feel. So I was super nervous about the project too, and I finished in time, but she did not. And she started crying and screaming, and she threw her computer on her desk and she ran out the room. Now, this is a response that a lot of people may have if you're on a time project, but then after that, my teacher forced me, the only Black girl in the class, to go get her and find her and make her feel better. Even though I'm not friends with the girl, I didn't sit next to the girl, I don't know the girl personally. And I think that I've had many experiences where people in my class or people I'm around are overwhelmed by their own emotions. And because I have a natural response to kind of hide how I feel so that attention isn't drawn to me in a way I can't control, I've been, and I think many of you guys may agree, that you have to take care of people that you feel like, I don't know her, I don't know how she feels, and that you don't think those same things would happen to you if you had those feelings.
Whew. I'm gonna let that breathe for a second. You said a lot, Marley. That I know that really resonates with me. Does that resonate with all of you as well? Yeah. The idea of hiding your emotions, I have to be honest and say I in some ways feel that I became an actor because of that. That like that very reason, the fact that there wasn't an actual big enough outlet to hold all that I feel and want to express. I'm now recognizing, when I think back to who I was at your age and younger, I now realize that I was an activist more than I was an actress, but that was the safest place to be allowed to be seen, right? How many of you also feel that there's been moments and instances where you've had to hide your emotions or feelings for the fact that they can be misinterpreted or perceived as being invalid in some ways? Anyway. Yeah.
Can I share just like how I
Yes,
really
please, Sydney, that'd be great.
Yeah, I just related. I also don't even think about that as much, but recently, just because I'm 19, so I'm like approaching my 20s and just become like working, and it's very different for me because I grew up in just in an all-white school, and so now I'm like approaching the world and making more Black women friends, but so now I have space to be myself and to like really express myself. But I definitely relate to that. My job, where I work, there's not very much opportunity to I'm not able to say exactly what I need to say to advocate for myself because there's fear of losing my job. So holding those emotions in, or like holding back when someone says something to me that's like a microaggression, making comments about how smart I am or if I'm capable of doing a task that I'm being paid for. I really relate to that, and a lot of that comes from you know, going back in our history as Black women, we were the caregivers, we were the mothers, we took care of white children, and so moving forward in history, like that's been carried on as like that's our job. We're supposed to take care of white women and white boys and tend to their needs. And being Black and then being a woman, like the role of women in society is to be the caregiver, but on top of that, as a Black woman, Black girl, like that's just like what society puts on us. So I really relate with that. And wow.
Yeah.
I think often a lot of us are put in positions to be the bigger person, like forgive people that have done things that are really wrong, or accept that it's just the way it happens. Like as a kid, when I would get into arguments with people in elementary school, everyone would always say it's a misunderstanding. But it's like, I understand exactly how I feel, and you understand exactly what you did. And it's just the refusal, like you said, to accept that we can have negative feelings. We can be angry, and it cannot be about, it can be a race issue as to why we got angry, but it's not a genetically a thing that makes us necessarily have more feelings or more emotions or care any more passionately.
We're not predisposed to
Yeah.
this. So much is things that are not being discussed, or ways that we are being overlooked. It's not just inherently who and how we are. Chloe, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I feel like especially like with Black girls in general, I feel like I feel like most of us are taught to not really show our emotions as much, like especially like when we're out in public, or we always need to find the right time to actually let out our emotions, and sometimes it's hard to find that time. But I feel like a lot of times we're taught for that, but like we're also taught to look bold and strong and have and not be the one with all these crazy emotions, and they're like everyone says that we're like angry and stuff, so we're supposed to seem strong and bold, and we're supposed to seem this and supposed to seem that. But I'm a really emotional person, and sometimes I have a really hard time keeping my emotions in. And so, especially because I was taught to try to keep those in so that I can keep myself protected, and I can make sure that I don't get a label put above my head. So I feel like it's harder for me because I'm a really sensitive person, and it's harder for me to keep my emotions in when it comes to certain topics, or when I'm talking about certain things, or if I'm doing a speech about something. I always have to remind myself, you better not cry about this, you better not do this, you better not do that. And I have to tell myself that because, like I said, I don't want to have a label put upon my head.
Wow. Yeah, please, Maya.
Yeah, so what I was going to also add to that was how people will try to shape you into the kind of person that they want you to be and try to fit you into a caricature, which is always been something I've been really aware of from a young age, you know, being an entrepreneur from a young age, and doing a lot of public speaking and panels. You know, when I've been on panels that are majority white, and maybe like the only Black person or a Black girl on a panel, or you know, doing something related to like entrepreneurship especially, I will get questions that are very laced with kind of racial stereotypes and caricatures. Like they'll ask me, are you a tough boss? Are you hard to work with? Are you hard on your employees? Are you, and it's so weird. It's so weird because I don't see them ask any of my white peers the same questions. They try to kind of create a sort of bossy or sassy kind of, you know, caricature out of me, out of my work. And then also that trickles down into being an activist, being an environmental activist. You know, that's something I'm very passionate about, but I've had to really assess how strongly I can express my emotions, like kind of what Chloe was saying, because, you know, you start to come off angry instead of passionate, you know, and then it's really hard to see, you know, a lot of white peers who are in the activist space who are able to, you know, have that same kind of energy, and then they're, oh, she's so passionate, or she's so this, she's so that. And you know that, especially, you know, maybe that's starting to be looked at now, but starting out in 2008 and kind of on up, I mean, it was just really, there's kind of a blatant kind of putting you in a box that a lot of people do to young Black girls. And it's definitely really, it's traumatizing in a way for, I think, a lot of Black girls. People don't speak to how that of course it's, you know, it's bias, it's microaggressions, and it's hurtful and it makes you sad, but it's also, it's very subtle trauma at the same time, and it can completely change how that same girl can walk through life walk through life later in life. So
Yeah, and it feels counterintuitive to leadership and being productive, right? And that's what's so interesting, like Marley was saying earlier, how often the responsibility to be the caregiver or to sort of clean up the mess is then placed upon the Black girl, right? To be the one to care for everyone else, but who's caring for her? And a lot of these qualities for us, a lot of these qualities that you all described yourself as having are actually qualities that are implicit in leadership. These are qualities that are necessary. And so Micaiah, I would love to hear from you, you know, knowing that you consider yourself an advocate, that you're, you know, working on policy and really passionate about, you know, inner city youth.
It's very present on the grand scheme of things, you know, like when you're a leader and you have your own business, or if you're a doctor or you're a lawyer, but people don't realize how often it's actually in our day-to-day lives, like small little things. So, you know, like how if we as Black girls, we go on about our day and maybe something just went on in the morning that just made us a little angry, like that's normal for anybody, whether it be because we're Black or Hispanic or whatever the case may be, we can have a bad day. But I don't think society allows us to have a bad day. And it's interesting to see that our white counterparts, if they have a bad day, it's always like, oh, she's having a bad day. But if it's us, it's, oh, she has an attitude problem. We get that a lot in the city of Detroit, and it's very, very, very frustrating. Especially for me, I grew up with the attitude problem because I like to speak up about things that are affecting me or affecting people, other people, and they don't feel comfortable about talking about their experiences. We often get, oh, she has an attitude problem, stay away from her when she's mad. You know, when our white counterparts, it's, oh, maybe she's not feeling well, you know, or maybe somebody said something to her that was wrong and it's making her feel uncomfortable. We don't get that kind of care. So that's when I think, like all the other girls on this panel have been saying, we often have to feel like we have to go outside and be strong every single day. We don't have
But
the
not too strong.
Yeah.
Right. Not too strong.
We gotta be strong, but not too strong. We have to be bold, but not overpowering. We have to, you know, be able to speak well, but not be threatening. There are all these kind of nuances and ways that we kind of dance.
I agree with that so much. Like, people just don't recognize that Black girls can have a bad day sometime. And I think they always want to put these labels on us, like we're too grown or too loud. And there are times, like, I remember like when I first started acting in 2006, and there was this one time I did a scene, and my scene partner, he kind of like messed it up on purpose. And I was like, okay, you gotta get your lines together. This is the show. We are doing this. And like, everyone started laughing, like we were in front of this crowd, and I kind of put my arm back. Everyone thought I was gonna punch him. I wasn't gonna punch him. I was just like, you know, get your together, get your stuff together. And everyone was like, oh wow, she's loud, she's aggressive, she's grown. And even as you were saying, like, bias comes from our own people sometimes. And even within my family, like, I've always been loud and outgoing, and people are like, you're like a carbon copy of your mom, because like my mom is the exact same way. And I think like growing up, like my cousins and my grandparents, everyone always kind of like pushed themselves sort of, not, I don't want to say away from me, but I think I was just ahead of my time in a sense. Everyone was like, oh, she's just too aggressive and she's too loud and she's too grown. And everyone was always saying my reaction, but not necessarily what took place or what led up to that. And again, like what Micaiah was saying, you can have like something can happen at home or on your way to work or school or whatever, and no one is seeing that. They're only seeing your reaction. So I think a lot of the time people only saw my reaction even in my career, and they didn't see what was taking place. And then some people, they didn't even give me a chance to talk about, oh, what took place or what led up to as to why I have an attitude. It's not an attitude problem. It's just like, you're just upset. And I think we don't really get enough space to express our feelings all the time. So that's why panels and discussions like this are so wonderful and so needed, in my opinion, because not only does it help with like Black girls and Black people in general, it also helps to other people who are watching to think to like really dial down their bias and really understand and see where people are coming from before they judge someone based on like 5 seconds of within meeting them.
Right. And also judging them based on our perceptions that we have, which are very
Right.
much uh, attributed to media and film. And I know, Amir, you
Mhm.
are wanting to get into screenwriting and to filmmaking as well. And you talked a little bit about representation. How do you see your future and your ability, like coming into the entertainment industry as a vehicle to possibly be able to make change in terms of how Black girls are perceived? Is that something that you're interested in
Yeah,
doing?
I'm definitely interested in having a wider representation of Black girls in the film industry because, like, we watch movies about ourselves, and sometimes it's like a girl, it might be a different girl in a different movie, but they all have like a similar look to each other, and I just don't think that that's not a very good representation of Black women in general. And I was also agreeing on, what she said because she was like, I'm too grown and all that. And I was like, I really agree with that because in the Black community, we're called like, if we're too like outgoing, then that makes us grown or we have an attitude. And I think it's important that people realize that like when we speak, have you ever like disagreed with someone or you didn't have the same opinion and that was like automatically referred to as being disrespectful?
I agree entirely. Chloe?
I was gonna say, even like with the entertainment industry or just what I do in general, I feel like you have to censor what you say a lot of times, or people want you to censor what you say because if you don't, you're gonna lose opportunities. Because it's as if they want the Black girl that's not passionate about something. They want the
Mhm.
girl that is just going to stay quiet, or they're going to just stay in line, and they want that person to who they want to show all over. But
Mm,
when there's that one girl that speaks up, they don't want her because she's
Yeah.
speaking up about certain things. And so I feel like sometimes you lose so many opportunities to do so many really cool things because you're speaking up for what you believe in, which I really think isn't fair.
I
It's
agree.
not, and I totally agree. Oh, sorry to
Yes.
cut you
No,
off.
by all means, Danshay, go ahead.
But yeah, I totally agree with you, Chloe. I think like a lot, like when I don't want to say the beginning of my career, but like towards the middle of my career, I noticed that I was so passionate about things like activism and feminism, and I really wanted to educate my followers. And I know like my team was like, maybe you should wait a little bit, maybe you should wait. And I noticed like when I was younger, I used to be so outgoing and so outspoken about everything. And over the years, I kind of like dialed it back a lot and I kept dialing it back and dialing it back. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm so quiet to the point where people were like, you're shy. And I'm like, no, I'm not shy. It's just like, I just couldn't find it in between. It was like I was either too outspoken or like shy. And I think honestly, we just really need to get rid of those labels. But that is like so important. What you were saying it's like when you do speak up and are passionate about things, they're like, oh, well, that's great, but we just didn't want someone who was going to speak out on things that are going on in the world. But then at the same time, it's like if you do have a platform, if you do have all these followers, and especially younger followers, then it's like you should speak up because you want to educate the generation before you, the generation after you. But I think it's just all about finding that medium. And I think with the entertainment industry, they are scared of that. So when I see someone like Zendaya, who is doing amazing with everything and using her platform, or someone like you, Monique, who's using their platform and being representation for young Black girls, it's just so important to see because a lot of times we're told like, no, you can be an actress, but if you're gonna be an actress, just be an actress, don't be an activist. So seeing people like you, Zendaya, Yara Shahidi, it's honestly amazing, and we really do need more of that.
Wow, thank you. Marley?
I really agree with what Danshay said, and a lot of the stuff that we do deal with, like on an everyday basis, puts a lot of pressure on our own health. Like Maya was saying it before, and you can tell by the way in which all of the girls have been super passionate about what they say. Like there's a worldwide attack going on around people of color and has been since the beginning of time, but especially Black girls. And when I think about people like Audre Lorde, who passed away at a young age, even Black men like Medgar Evers, who's assassinated. Like there is an attack on people who speak out. You know, Lorraine Hansberry died at a young age of cancer. James Baldwin died of cancer. And even though there's not a direct connection between no one did that to them. It is something that happens and you get sick. but there's a lot of stress on people who speak out to be themselves all the time and unapologetically do that. Audre Lorde, being a queer Black woman, was not accepted by many Black people and was not seen as a person that everyone liked. Martin Luther King, towards the end of his life, was talking about ending the Vietnam War and how he did not want that to happen. It was not well liked by many Black people. So there are situations in which we feel like we can't speak out, and it puts a lot of damage on who we are. Malcolm X was assassinated. Like, there are so many examples of Black people who have to be martyrs of our culture. And today, Emmett Till would have been around 79 years old, is what I saw this morning when I woke up. Like, there are real people that are dying for this cause, whether directly or indirectly. And I think it is super scary, at least for me, seeing the death of the activist named Toyin, who was killed after talking about the man who sexually assaulted her. Like, she's super young. And it makes me scared. I think, like, she's around Sydney's age. Like, these are people that I care about and value as community members. And I don't want people to be martyrs for activism. I think that's a super scary thing. There should be no reason why someone should die for a cause, I believe. I think that's something that should have happened in the Revolutionary War and should have stopped at that. I don't believe that we should have people that are dying or are putting extreme pressure on their health or lives to be a charismatic leader, to be well-liked, or to be well-received.
Ooh, girl, you got chills going up my arm, down the other side, down my neck and my back. That was a word. That was a word. I think far too often, we allow our young and our bright and our bold to be in the line of fire, right? And we don't, that is another example of how we don't recognize the ways that we are re-traumatizing ourselves. And I've been noticing a real surgence of what I call cyber trauma, where the ways that we are interacting with these images and videos that we should never ever see or be in contact with in life. And they're not films, these are not movies, these are our real experiences. I had that moment watching the George Floyd video, thinking to myself that this is more than my spirit can handle. This is more than my nervous system really wants to manage, and more than we really should manage. Maya.
Yeah, and just to your point, what's so really soul crushing about what you just spoke to is that there's the push and pull, on the internet between the fact that seeing our people be murdered in cold blood is the only way to get people to care about us, versus it also desensitizes so many people to the issue and also re-traumatizes us. It's exhausting. It's so exhausting. And speaking to how Black women and Black girls are treated specifically, what's so terrifying is how, first of all, we have misogynoir. This is how bad it is. The fact that we have a Black feminist scholar, Moya Bailey, to coin this word, misogynoir, and how it is widespread across the world. It is not just in the US, it's in Europe, it's in Africa. There is a global, wide-scale attack on Black women, Black girls, on Black female bodies. And as soon as we enter the world, as soon as we come out of the womb, you are being attacked from multiple sides of both racism and sexism. And you kind of feel like, who can you go to as a Black woman than to other Black women? There's nobody else out there that's really lifting up and supporting us and protecting us. That's the biggest key too, protecting us and advocating for us. And so I think that's the thing that's really scariest about this whole conversation, is the fact that we don't know where else to go other than to each other and to ourselves. And that's very sad, and it's a very scary but very true reality. And then the other thing I was going to mention earlier related to media was, growing up, I didn't have a lot of Black female characters in media that I directly could really relate to on a personality wise. I think that, it's really been hard for me to see how, a lot of white characters, there's such a range. But when you have, the Black girl, you don't see Black girls that are nerdy, that are awkward, that are, you know, artistic, or they're allowed to kind of be outside of that mold. You know, I don't think that you see a lot of a range of different personalities, and I think that that's really damaging on multiple different levels in its own right. You know, I want to see more characters like that too.
Yeah. I know, Marley, you wanted to say something, but one thing I just wanted to bring in that you brought up actually was the hypersexualization of Black girls, and that just being something that I would love for us to touch on as well. These extremes, right? That we're either the caregiver, or we're perceived in, you know, as being loud or kind of obnoxious, or this kind of, yeah, this like overly sexualized, like as girls and as children. But what were you gonna say, Marley?
Oh, I'll touch on it quickly. I think what Maya said is so true. Like the first thing that I thought of when I thought of issues that Black girls face, beyond even like the necessarily the like verbal attacks or physical attacks, it's just the pure lack of representation. Like it is extreme, and it is so disappointing. Even naming, like, if all of us name probably the top 5 Black girl actresses we know, most of them have, and I love them and I support them, and I'm not going to name them all, but they have Eurocentric features. They have looser curl textures, or they don't show their natural hair. There's a lot of limitations on the ways in which Black girls exist. And thinking about even the characters that Dawn Shay plays, because I've watched half the things that she's in, she's normally on adult TV shows. They're not kids shows. Like, little kids don't get to see her in the same way that they deserve to. Like, she's playing in Orange is the New Black. There aren't 5-year-olds that should be watching that show. They don't see that on PBS Kids, and they deserve to. Like, I remember watching The Magic School Bus, and there's a Black girl in that show, but she has straight hair. Like, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Black girl in Cyber Chase. She doesn't have natural hair. Like, there's not a lot of opportunities for us to see ourselves, and the narratives in which we
On High School Musical, who did,
well, and they're High School Musical, but you didn't have an afro. You need an afro. Exactly. We talk about that, seeing that our hair is either doesn't look good, or it looks wrong, or it looks straight, and we don't feel as though there are even aspects of our own beauty that are celebrated. We don't play characters that are popular girls. We don't play characters that are athletes. We don't play characters that are scientists. We play best friends. We play, like, Dion in Clueless was one person that I looked up to because she had braids, but she didn't care too much about school. She didn't care too much about college, and the stories are focused on her whatsoever. So I think there are a lot of aspects when we don't realize that we exist in a world of Black best friends. And even on some of the most popular shows like Grey's Anatomy, one of the only Black women is a sassy Black woman that's angry that all the new residents don't like. Like, there are such limits in the characters that we exist in and the spaces in which we are cared about. So I think it's really cool to see that these characters are developing as the conversations are brought up, and they're changing the narratives and realizing we need to care about them more. But Black girls shouldn't only exist in adult shows and animations. Kids shows really do lack having Black main characters.
Ooh, Micaiah, is it? I saw Micaiah, and then Sydney, and then Chloe.
So I want to get into hypersexualization as well, but I definitely wanted to point out one thing that Marley said about them not embracing natural hair. When I saw, like, China Anne McClain on Disney Channel with the straight hair, I was like, I need my hair straight. I never ever wore my hair natural until like 2 years ago, and that was because I hate my natural hair. I didn't want people to see my hair curly. They were going to think, oh, she's a Black girl, she acts a certain way if her hair is natural. You know, if her hair is straight, oh, she acts a certain way and she's put together, she's professional. You know, and that's the kind of thing that we need to see. We need to see people with natural hair in professional settings because it's professional. You know, like, why are you saying, like, if my hair is curly right now, oh, I can't go into an interview because it doesn't look put together. Like, even if you go on a Google search and you search up professional hair, it's a whole bunch of straight hair, no natural hair at all. And it's like, why is my hair that grows out of my scalp not professional? Like, I can't control that. And even if I could, it should be professional, you know? And so,
and how much does that impact your self-esteem?
Like I said, I hated my natural hair, and I had heat damage for years because I would only straighten my hair. My hair was only straight. I got perms, and my hair was falling out, and it was because I wanted to look like a white girl. Like, even going to white schools in middle school, I wanted to look as much like them as possible. I wanted to be super skinny. I wanted to have straight hair that went down to my back, and not knowing that perms wasn't going to give me that. But, like, I just wanted to be as close to them as possible. And, you know, it's frustrating that a lot of people go through that more than people even know. How many girls go through hating their hair so much up until they figure out, up until they find that one girl who actually encourages them to go outside of the house with the curly hair. And even here in Detroit now, like it's literally like 2012. And because nobody wants to wear their curly hair because they really don't like it. They don't know how to take care of it. And it's really sad to see a whole bunch of Black women neglect something that's been such a big part of our culture for so long, that they neglect it because they're taught to look like a white woman. It's really,
and it becomes who we are. Everything that you're saying is resonating with me on a cellular level. I struggled with my hair as probably one of the biggest cornerstones of issues that I had with my self-esteem. And even, this is something I don't share a lot, but thinking back to playing Taylor in High School Musical, and I was so fortunate to be sort of at the precipice of the shift in characters. There has not been nearly enough by any stretch of the imagination, but I was so grateful that at the callback for High School Musical, it was myself and two girls of Asian descent, right? So because it's the smartest girl in school, so that was the stereotype that was present at that final callback. And then upon booking that role, it was really important to me to really have a character that my goddaughter, and my younger sisters and people that I grew up with could look to. But even realizing that how I looked and the ways that I altered my look and personally, not just as a character, but as a human being, the shame and the embarrassment that I felt having to take a photo of my edges I had lost my edges because going back and forth between Dancing with the Stars and High School Musical, they had over-processed my hair and I had lost my edges, and I had to send a photo to the head of Disney to prove why at 24 years old, I needed a wig. And this is before extensions and wigs, and it was very natural and normal to be switching your hair every other day. And I spent most of the time in that film getting ready alone because I was so embarrassed. And you think about these little moments where I never wanted Zach to see me. I never wanted any of the boys to see me for obvious reasons. But then also I didn't want the girls to see me either because they would not have related to what that really felt like how deep that cut. And I think about how we show up. I still showed up every day and performed. And yes, I'm an actress, but in all of our lives, we play roles. We embody these characters, the character of us. And how detrimental is it to our self-esteem and to our ability to walk through the world as the leaders that we're meant to be, as just the people that can grow, that we talk about leadership, but also just experiencing life fully, to have something about yourself that you are embarrassed about or that you feel makes you less than or wrong. It must translate not only from our childhood to adolescence, but also in how we continue to move through the world and our relationships and how we see ourselves. So conversations like this, I think, are of the utmost importance because people don't realize or know the implications that they have, not just on us when you're young, but how this carries out into our inability to speak up, to show up as the persevering, the bold, the driven, the compassionate. These are all the ways that you describe yourselves, and these are all the ways that I see you and pick up on you. But this, when we are out in the world, these perceptions get filtered through such a small lens, often our phones or our television. So I want to shift the conversation to solutions.
We are built by divine design, regal as the tallest oak that ever stood. Hear me good. We are the moon, not meant for concrete and traffic, smog and city streets, not just stereotypes and caricatures, man-made limitations and labels, the broken lenses of this world. What kind of warped funhouse mirror do you look through? What upside-down way did you create to take the sanctity of our bodies and make it a thing? the blessing of our skin, and make it wrong when all along we are God's most precious prize. Little girls, beige to caramel to mahogany, with almond eyes so divine, we are the color of Mother Earth. We are lullabies and love hymns, laughter and levity, little angels in human form, reborn into our own greatness again and again. We are the answered prayers of our kin. The ancestors rejoice at our very existence. We are walking prayers. So violating a girl is a violation against God, a sin against yourself, karmic suicide. We are not here to bear your burden. Not here to carry the weight of the world on each shoulder, collecting lessons and battle scars. Not here to fit into the narrow confines of who you think we are. We are strong, yes. But before that, we are somebody's baby, someone's child. Daughters of Oshun, Yemaya, Sojourner Truth, Ida B. We are legacy, our song far and long. We are every continent, every smoke signal and psalm, every prayer, every element, day and night. We are earth, air, water, sunlight. Let us celebrate ourselves. Remember who and whose we are. For no law, no label, no man can stop a sea of shooting stars.
You know, we talked a lot about how we feel, how this negatively impacts us, the ways that it holds us back. It makes us feel less than, makes us feel small. One thing I will say too is that I find that the ways that people project on us are terrible, but the ways that we internalize it are worse. The things that we believe about ourselves, the ways that we chew on these words as if they are the truth of who we are, knowing that we are divine and strong and powerful. That's the gag, right? Is the fact that we start playing small and we stop showing up as ourselves. So I would love to hear from each of you. What are some of your thoughts, ideas, or what are some of the things that you would want to share about how we can change these perceptions and why that is of utmost and critical importance today, that we start to shift our view?
We should just go around.
Just go around. Chloe, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go. I feel like creating our own tables is like one way to start. Because I feel like when we create our own tables, we can bring in the people that we want to represent. We can bring in the people, and we get to show, like, bring in those producers, people, having women of color as producers, having, you know, like having women just in general as producers there, having women of color there as producers, having your whole team just being women of color or just people of color. When you create your own table, you're able to add and create the diverse community that we all need. And so I feel like that's why we should all make our own table and everybody bring a chair.
Ooh, I love that. Awesome.
Wow. First of all, I was like brought to tears just hearing, it's so deep, like the hair experience and like just growing up. Like there's so many, I could say so many things about hypersexualization and being in the music industry. The biggest thing for me personally that I've experienced has changed the course of my entire life is having therapy and spirituality, because a lot of the issues start inside of me. You know, I mean, there's stuff outside of the world, but if I can focus on like how do I think about myself? How am I showing up to the table? Because if I feel like I'm inferior around women, I mean, young girls, I say women because I'm starting to like change, and it's so amazing to see like young teenage girls like talk about these things, but like, how am I showing up to the table? Do I think low of myself? Do I think that I'm not even good enough to be speaking with you guys? Like, if I feel that way, like, how am I gonna make change? So for me, like, the biggest thing that I promote amongst my my Black girlfriends and even just into the Black community in my music, I really talk about getting rid of the stigma of therapy and having some kind of spirituality, whether it's religion or no matter what you believe in, having that aspect in your life and really strongly like leaning into that, because yeah, that changed everything for me.
And I wanted to I just kind of wanted to also bounce off of that, because Sydney spoke to something that I was just thinking about, was how, we're in the midst of a very painful but very revolutionary time, because we are in the middle of both an internal and external revolution. And exactly like to what she was saying, we need systemic change, we need societal change, and we need internal healing for a lot of the Black women and Black girls. And the world that I want to see for Black girls moving forward is a day where the little everyday instances of who you are as a Black girl do not have to turn into an act of emotional labor. And I was thinking about that when you, Monique, were telling your story about your hair. And I was thinking about how some of my earliest encounters, like at 7 and 8 years old, are a stranger telling me that I needed to get a perm. And my mom, she always encouraged me to wear my hair natural, and I always kept my hair natural, but I had to turn my natural hair, instead of just something that was just normal for me, that I just, could just love and enjoy and wear in whatever way that I wanted to, I kind of had to use it as a statement too. I had to use it as, I had to put a lot of emotional labor into something as normal as the hair that I am born with, to show that, I can wear my natural hair in a professional setting, or I can, wear it and be proud of it as an activist. And I want Black girls to be able to just be, that's something that I really want. And that ties into the criminalization, the hypersexualization, the objectification. I just want Black girls to have a world, an environment where they can just be, where they can just thrive and they can just be themselves without it having to be an act of a defiance or a trauma. That's really the future that I want for Black girls, where they can just be happily and most authentically them. And that takes change on so many different levels, but it's the world that I know that we can, really build.
Yeah, Maya, I definitely understand the whole hair thing, because like when I was in elementary school, I grew up in a community where there weren't a lot of Black people at all. It was mostly Hispanics and Asians. And when I first got to school, I was wearing my hair natural. And for my whole life, my mom has always preached about me wearing my hair natural, but I just wanted to wear it straight. And I would want it to like have a wave, because I wanted to look like the Hispanic girls, because that's who the boys like. So I wanted to have like straight but like wavy hair. And like that gave me a lot of heat damage for so many years. And it wasn't until I finally got to high school that I started wearing my natural hair, like for a long time. But I also agree, Maya, with the whole letting Black girls be, because I was thinking, when are we able to really feel comfortable in our own skin? Because that definitely wasn't how I was feeling in middle school, because I know a lot of you can relate to being dress coded for something that's ridiculous. Because when I was in middle school, like shirts with like drawstrings were very popular. So I would wear shirts like that, but so would like some of the Asian girls. And like I was developing more in middle school, so I would get dress coded for wearing the same shirt that maybe a smaller girl was wearing, excuse me. And it was just ridiculous to me, because I couldn't feel comfortable. Like, am I being inappropriate? Like, what's going on? Why am I getting picked on and she's not? Like, I really felt like I was uncomfortable in middle school. And I think that there needs to be a way to make these young Black girls feel comfortable and not feel like they're being inappropriate or being hypersexualized. And
Yeah, and that's really great. And Sydney, I know that you also had a similar experience in school when it comes to uniforms and your body developing. Did you want to share that as well? I'd love to.
Yeah, I definitely had an experience. So in middle school, like I said, I went to a predominantly white school. Elementary school, I actually moved from an all Black school. Mostly, it was really there was a lot of mixture of different people. But then I moved to an all white neighborhood and went to elementary school, middle school, and high school with these people. And So I was really used to seeing like girls wearing like really short shorts and just being able to be careless with their outfits, showing their stomachs, showing their bra straps. And these were young white girls in middle school, 11, from the ages of like 11 to 13. And as a young girl, my body was way more developed than the average girl, even the average Black girl. I was already growing breast and like had a figure, and so I was walking down the hall with a friend of mine, and there was just ahead of me 2 girls wearing short shorts, and you could see their butt cheeks like showing. And that was like just a regular thing to see. People would comment on it and just let it go. Oh, it's summer, and it was really hot that day. So I decided, okay, I want to be like them. I want to be like my peers. I want to be careless. I want to be fashionable, and I love fashion and all that kind of stuff. So I put on shorts that weren't necessarily long. But they also weren't super short. And so I put on an outfit, I went to school, and a teacher stopped me, got the principal involved, got the nurse involved, and they said I had to change my outfit, otherwise I'd be sent home. And, they did the whole thing where if your arm goes past your shorts, it's too short. I'm 6 feet tall. In middle school, I was like 5'8", okay? And so obviously my arms are gonna go past the shorts, and they were, like mid-thigh length shorts. And so I changed, I put on sweatpants, and it was a hot summer day, and I bit that. I just ate it, and I sat with that experience, and mind you, the other girls walked just ahead of me with their butt cheeks showing, and many other experiences like that in school, in high school especially. But that was like the main one that really resonated with me.
We're kind of running out of time here, so I want to get to hear from the last 3 of you in terms of solutions. Things that we can do, things that we can, ways that we can help change our perceptions, the ways that we can heal, and things that we want, the adults that are going to be watching this to walk away with.
I think creating our own spaces, as Chloe was saying, and now the world is changing a lot, and a lot of people are starting to catch on to everything that's going on. And I think this is a great moment to, I don't want to say profit off of, but really capitalize on. More people are realizing, as we saw with shows like Central Park, Christian Bell, she was playing a biracial, but a Black character, and they replaced her with a Black actress. And even on the show Loudmouth, what is it? I think it's something like
Big
that.
Mouth.
Anyway, Big Mouth, yeah. And they had Jenny Slate playing a biracial character, and so they replaced her with a Black actress. But I feel like it shouldn't have taken this. It shouldn't have taken Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd or Trayvon Martin to even begin with. Like, it shouldn't have started with any of this. We should have noticed this years ago. And the one thing that really threw me off is when I found out that Cleveland Brown was played by a white dude, which, not taking anything away from these actors. They are talented and amazing. But I feel like you should have known from the moment you took the role that, hey, maybe I shouldn't take this role. Maybe this should be for someone else who isn't necessarily always represented. Maybe a Black person should take this role. So I think a lot of responsibility, it falls on everyone, honestly. We have to start from inside the house. Like, it starts with casting directors, and it starts with agencies and managements, and like they really have to take a chance on Black talent. And I feel like instead of taking a chance on a new young Black actress, they're like, oh, I'll go with this actress because we know her, or scrap that, we're just not going to use a Black actress at all, we'll just go with this person. So I think we have to create our own spaces. We do have to capitalize off of this moment, because it started off really bad, but now it's growing into some really amazing things are coming out of this. And we have to not be afraid to walk up into certain production companies or certain offices and networks and say, hey, I want to pitch this idea to you. And I think we really have to, the change comes from within ourselves and also our communities, and just we have to continue on to create spaces. because Black Lives Matter, it's not a moment, it's a movement, and it's not a trend. And Black lives have mattered, Black lives still matter, Black lives will always matter, and especially Black women, they matter. And we really have to show the world that this is a movement and we're gonna be here for the long run. And yeah, just creating spaces and broadcasting it, not just to ourselves, but to the whole world. So people can really see that, hey, we don't always have to be just someone's best friend or someone's daughter. We can exist as our own complex characters. Characters like Annalise Keating on How to Get Away with Murder. I think she honestly set the bar that Black women can do so much, and we can hold a show and we can run a show. And honestly, I think we just have to continue on with this and discussions like this too. I can totally relate to your hair journey. That has happened to me multiple times, especially growing up in this industry. Like for some roles, people wanted my hair to be like curly, and then for other roles, it had to be straight. And working on 3 shows at the same time, like from Power and Orange, and then another show, The Detour, on all these shows, my hair was straight. And so I constantly, almost every day, I had to get my hair straightened and straightened and straightened. And then I would go to like different hairdressers, because at the time I didn't have like one set hairstylist that just like did my hair. And like my hair ended up getting fried, like completely fried, like just, it was awful. And I had to like cut my hair and all that stuff. But now I'm like slowly transitioning back into natural, which is great. But I feel like that comes from a lack of, on the other sets, not knowing how to work with Black hair necessarily.
Right.
And
how
I
to
think
prioritize Black people,
yeah.
right? 'Cause even that, like, because I really want to be so clear, it's for anyone who watches this, it is not ultimately about hair.
Yeah.
It is about the prioritization of what matters to us, and it's about the things that are inherently, that grow out of our head or come out of our mouths, or that are the ways that our bodies form, that we are not inherently, there's nothing wrong with us in our natural state, the way that God made us. So it isn't just about, it can never be something where we're perceived as being difficult, because this, we have some that we require extra care in another situation or another circumstance. We wouldn't perceive extra care or as being something that was negative. We would just look at it like, this is just what's needed,
right?
Because it's what is. And what I feel like for too long we've been perceived as who and what we are just is not enough.
So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of encouragement. I know that in this season, everyone is really worried about where they are, where they're going, and what they can do to make everything better. But in this season, I just wanted to remind you guys to pause and make sure that self-care is at the top of that list. And just know that in the end, everything will be all right. So here's a song that I wrote just about that. I know you can't help it, misunderstood. The road, it gets so lonely when you're trying to do what's good. But I see behind your eyes. The world has held you in her arms. If you let her go, it seems as if you will just drift into the sea. But trust me, you must believe. Everywhere you turn and everybody's looking, judging, criticize, making statements, hesitating, printing stories falsified. Understand me when I tell you truth gets buried in the lies. Babe, you better open your eyes, 'cause everything will be all right. Everything will be all right in the end. I know it's hard to stay open, heart on your sleeve. You're terrified the world is gonna knock you to your knees. And it can to the point you can't breathe. But now it's time to stand tall. Create your lane. Take pride in how far you've come. Stop living in the pain. And realize with sun comes rain. Hold on just a little longer. I know that times are getting hard. Every salty tear you've earned, don't give up, cause you've come too far. Hold your head up to the sky. Don't trust in who they say you are. You gotta go with your heart. Cause everything will be alright. Everything will be alright in the end. Ooh, oh yeah, alright in the end. Alright. I said everything is gonna be alright in the end. So don't you worry, no. Said everything will be alright. Everything will be alright in the end.
One thing that's come up just based on the solutions that you've already brought forward is this notion of these spaces, right? Like these spaces that are needed. Maybe they're needed within industries as well. Maybe there needs to be groups within industries where we can talk about this. Like, how amazing if Raven and I would have known one another's struggle at the same time, you know. If when you enter school, Amir, like if you're a part of a student union where you're able to have conversations about how certain things that are unique to us have an impact and be able to come together. Because that's what's so beautiful about what we're doing here today is we're coming together. You know, we may be in our own respective homes, but we're realizing that we have shared experiences, and because of that, we have opportunities to heal together.
So I guess I will kind of talk about what I think a good solution for this would be. I feel like as Black women, it's important that we don't let the stereotype that Black women are aggressive cause us to be passive and like not assertive about the things that we're passionate about and the things that are important to us, because that's allowing it to silence us, and then nobody's going to hear what we have to say. At the end of the day, there are non-Black women who go and adopt these Black features because it's a trend now of having certain features in their body and their looks, and they get praised for it. And once upon a time, we got bullied for it, and we still do to this day. And if we wear certain things, you know, we're ghetto. You know, it's if we do certain things, we're ghetto. But if they do it, they're praised for it. They get a
trendy.
Yeah, it's very trendy. In 10 years, you know, they're going to be like, oh, you know, this is the new trend. You know, I want to look Asian. Now that's the new trend. It's like, why is it that it's a trend for them? But for us, this is our reality and we're getting bullied for it. I don't think that's fair. And I think it's important that that's why we're not passive about things. We're assertive, and we encourage people to be accountable for the things that they continue to do and the culture they continue to steal from us. And just, I think it's important that we actually acknowledge that and we hold them accountable for that, so that they can actually recognize that the Black women struggle, so that they can bring attention to that, and so that people can realize that we're not being extra. You know, this is actually reality. This isn't, we're not nitpicking things. You know, it's not small. Just because it's not your reality doesn't mean it's not an important reality. So I think it's just really about holding people accountable.
Yeah.
Love that. And don't dim your light, right? That's the message that I got out of that. Don't dim your light. Just because someone says that you're too loud, know that you are outspoken. Just because someone says that you're, you know, labels us with these things, again, the labels that we place on ourselves, who we know we are, that is of utmost importance.
Marley?
I think it's super important for all of us, especially as people that are young. But just like Micaiah said, I think there's one only thing I would add is that we can't exist in a space of clapping back, which is not what Micaiah said. But I think for a lot of Black girls, we exist where every single hate comment we receive, or every single time that someone acts up against us, which we are allowed to correct them, we don't want to exist in a way where we are always trying to fix the way that other people feel. I think that our existence is political. I think that our activism is political. I think that our art, our music, our screenplays, our clothes are political. Our existence and showing our joy should be enough for people. And if it isn't, we're going to make it. Because we can't do anything more than be ourselves. And I don't want to exist in a space where if I receive a hate comment, that I feel obligated to respond and to prove to everybody why I'm wrong and why they're right. I think us existing is right. And that's enough for me. So I think we all have to recognize that we are enough, and we will encounter many and many people that will send us negativity towards our way. And just like Micaiah said, don't dim your light, but don't give them any light. Don't bring attention to it, because there's nothing we can do besides educating ourselves and educating them and encouraging the people that we care about to be good people. Because if we continue to do that and we do it enough, everyone will become a good person. And I don't think we should put that responsibility on ourselves to fix people or to tell people every single time why they're doing something wrong. Sometimes I leave it up to other people on the internet. Like, I'll leave a hate comment on my page and I'm like, someone else will deal with that, because it's not going to be me. I'm not going to be the one to give you that attention or that time. So I think it's an important thing for all of us to recognize that individually solving racism or solving sexism or protecting Black women is not up to one of us. It's up to all of us. And it is not up to only Black girls. It is up to our parents. It is up to our teachers. It is up to our nurses. It is up to our great-grandparents. It is up to all of us to fix and change our narratives individually, work together and listen to each other, and then build communities that are educated, well-spoken, thoughtful, and kind.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow to each and every one of you. There have been so many enlightening moments that are going to stay with me. Things that exactly what we intended, I feel like we accomplished. I really wanted to understand what it felt like to be each and every one of you. I wanted us to be able to really connect with one another in a deeply personal way, to share. And I feel that all of that has happened, and I'm so grateful to each of you. One thing that really came up consistently was just this burden, right? This burden of being Black. And so I want us all, in the spirit of mental health and wellness, I want us all to take a deep breath together. I want us just to put our shoulders back. And here we go. On the count of 3, we're just going to take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Let's do that again. One more time. Our being Black is not a burden. Our bodies are our own. They belong to us. No one has authority or dominion over us. Our minds belong to us. No one has authority and dominion over our minds. Our feelings are valid. Who we are, who we love, what we desire matters. We matter. And I'm so grateful to each of you for showing up, for being yourselves, for being a light. And the solution that I see is what I'm looking at right now. The solution is in your faces. The solution is in your voices, and it's with you leading and speaking and being the fullest version of yourselves. However that comes out, whatever that looks like, you are enough, and you are never, ever too much. I love each and every one of you, and I want to say a huge thank you to SHAUN Foundation for Girls for this amazing opportunity to be with all of you today. this was so incredible, and I hope that we get more chances to create spaces like this and to invite more girls and boys to listen to how profound and powerful you all are. So without further ado, here is SHAUN Robinson.
Wow, that was incredible. What an amazing group of young ladies. Thank you, girls, for sharing your story, your truth so passionately. The message to all girls and young women: keep showing up, keep being bold, keep taking up space. As Monique said, those qualities make you tomorrow's leaders. Bravo. Okay, we're going to close out this event with a performance by one of the young ladies you saw, Sydney Jackson. She's an artist. Here she is with a song she wrote and recorded called Last of It. I hope you enjoy. I'm SHAUN Robinson on behalf of the SHAUN Foundation for Girls. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Raindrops fall on my window pane as a butterfly lands on the seal to dry off its wings and stay safe. I know how that butterfly feels, 'cause you've seen the last of the worn out and torn down me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you've seen the last of the tired and broken me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause this is the last of it. You've seen the last of it. This is the last of it. Changed on my numbers and my address in town. Ooh, I trashed my tiara and put on a crown. I swore in my faithfulness, I'm ready to go. So watch out, 'cause this is the new girl running the show. Tell everybody you've seen the last of the worn out and torn down me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you've seen the last of the tired and broken me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause this is the last of it. You've seen the last of it. This is the last of it. Oh, you've seen the last of the worn down and torn down me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you've seen the last of the tired and broken me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, 'cause this is the last of it. You've seen the last of it. This is the last of it. Oh, oh, oh. But that sleepless night, I might still cry, but I'm not giving up. I'm gonna fight. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels